The letters J, D, M get slapped on just about everything these days, and most of the time they mean absolutely nothing. Somebody stuck a JDM sticker on a base Corolla and tried to flog it for double what it's worth. Somebody out there genuinely calls a front-wheel drive shopping trolley a legend. Somebody's mom's automatic hatchback is apparently a tuner icon now. So let's draw the lines properly once and for all. 7 levels, starting with the humble Honda Civic and climbing all the way up to the mighty Nissan Skyline GT-R. By the end of this, you'll know exactly where every Japanese hero really sits in the pecking order, which level is genuinely worth your hard-earned money, and which one is just charging you for a badge and a hit of nostalgia. This is the entire food chain of Japanese performance, from the school run to Godzilla. Buckle up, let's go. Level 1, the gateway. Every single JDM obsession on the planet starts right here, whether people want to admit it or not. This is the ground floor, the cheap, sensible, borderline boring Japanese cars that quietly hooked an entire generation. The Honda Civic, the Toyota Corolla, the Mazda 3, the little Honda Jazz. On paper, nothing exciting is happening at all. A 1.5 to 2.0-liter 4-cylinder, somewhere between 120 and 160 horsepower, front-wheel drive, and fuel economy that will genuinely embarrass a hybrid on a good run. 0 to 60 takes 8, 9, maybe 10 seconds in the base car. Nobody is setting a lap record here. But here is why this level matters more than any other on the entire list: reliability. These engines will do 200,000 miles and ask for nothing in return but oil and the occasional kind word. The Corolla is the best-selling car in human history, and it earned that with sheer stubborn dependability. The Civic goes one better. It is the single most modified car ever built, and it earned that title honestly. Those little B-Series and later K-Series engines turned out to be absolute weapons once people started boosting them, and an entire global tuning culture got built on the back of a car your nan could have driven to church. Level 1 is not about speed, it's about the door it opens. You buy one of these to learn, to daily, to save up, and to catch the bug. Almost nobody starts at the top. They start here, and the smart ones never, ever forget it. The trap at this level is paying full new car money for a sporty-looking badge glued onto base car bones. Don't. Buy the honest version, keep it clean, and let it teach you what you actually like before you spend the big money. Level 2, the hot hatch and the sport compact. This is where the Japanese finally take the handbrake off and the fun properly begins. We're talking the Honda Civic Si and the full-fat Civic Type R, the Toyota GR Corolla, the old Mazda Speed 3. Prices span a huge range from a few grand for a tidy used Si up to well over 40,000 for a brand new Type R. The current Civic Type R, the FL5, is the headline act. A 2.0-liter turbocharged 4 making around 315 horsepower, front-wheel drive only, a proper 6-speed manual with an automatic rev match function, and a chassis so sharp it held the front-wheel drive lap record at more than one famous circuit. That last detail is the whole point of this level, a front-drive hatchback that can genuinely humiliate cars costing 3 times as much on a track. The GR Corolla attacks from a completely different angle, a 1.6-liter 3-cylinder turbo, all-wheel drive, and 300 horsepower squeezed out of an engine barely bigger than a paint tin. Toyota built it because rally is in their blood, and it drives like it means every word of it. Here's what people constantly get wrong at Level 2. They assume a hot hatch is just a slightly faster version of Level 1. It absolutely isn't. The engineering underneath is a completely different animal, stiffer, sharper, more focused, with brakes and suspension that were actually designed to be abused on a Sunday morning. This is the sweet spot for a huge number of enthusiasts. One car that hauls the weekly shop on Monday embarrasses proper sports cars on a back road on Saturday, and never once leaves you stranded on the hard shoulder. If your budget is real and your knees still work, a clean used Civic Type R might just be the smartest performance buy on this entire list. Level 3, the lightweight and the roadster. Now we move away from raw pace and towards something the Japanese understand better than almost anybody on Earth: balance. This level is defined by cars that aren't especially powerful but feel utterly alive because they're light, they're low, and every single gram sits exactly where it should. The undisputed king here is the Mazda MX-5, the Miata, the best-selling two-seat roadster ever built, full stop, end of argument. Roughly 180 horsepower in the current generation, well under 2,400 pounds at the curb, a gearbox so slick it feels like a rifle bolt, and a chassis that teaches you more about actually driving than a car with double the power ever could. Alongside it sit the Toyota GR86 and the Subaru BRZ, twins sharing a naturally aspirated 2.4-liter flat-4 rear-wheel drive and a deliberate lack of turbo drama, so you learn to carry your speed through a corner rather than just point and squirt. And then there's the outright legend of the level, the Honda S2000, with its screaming 2.0-liter engine that revved to a genuinely absurd 9,000 revolutions per minute and made 240 horsepower with no turbocharger anywhere in sight. That's around 120 horsepower per liter from a naturally aspirated engine 2 decades ago, a figure that still makes engineers stop and nod in respect. The cheeky mid-engined Toyota MR2 belongs here too. The mistake people make at level 3 is chasing horsepower numbers and completely missing the entire point. These cars were never about the spec sheet. They're about the conversation between your hands, your backside, and the tarmac. Drive a Miata properly hard just once and you'll finally understand why grown adults with far more expensive machinery in the garage still keep one of these around purely to grin like an idiot. Level 4. The Turbo Tuner Legends. This is where JDM culture truly becomes JDM culture. The exact era and machines that filled every bedroom poster, every video game, and every teenage daydream of a generation. Rear-wheel drive, turbocharged, and built from the ground up to be modified. The Nissan Silvia, sold as the 240SX in some markets, the S13, the S14, and the holy S15, is the undisputed drift king of the entire planet. That SR20DET turbo engine, a light rear-drive chassis, and near-perfect weight balance made it the default choice for anyone who wanted the back end to step out sideways on purpose. The Mazda RX-7 FC generation brings the rotary weirdness, a tiny spinning engine that revs like absolutely nothing else on Earth and sounds like an angry hairdryer possessed by a demon. The Mitsubishi Eclipse and the Toyota Celica GT4 round out the level, the Celica in particular being a genuine rally homologation special with clever all-wheel drive that most people completely forget existed. Now, prices here have gone utterly mad, and this is the important bit you need to hear. A clean S15 Silvia that cost pocket money 15 years ago now sells for the price of a brand new family SUV. Good original rotaries are climbing just as fast. The reason is dead simple. They stopped making them, the survivors are getting rarer by the month, and a whole generation that grew up worshiping these cars finally has real money in the bank. The classic wallet-destroying mistake at level 4 is buying a rough-thrashed 30-year-old drift missile that's been crashed twice and rebuilt in a dodgy shed, convincing yourself you've bagged a bargain. You haven't. A tidy, honest, unmolested example is worth every single penny of the premium, because the cheap modified ones will bleed you completely dry. Level 5. The all-wheel drive rally weapons. If Level 4 was about sliding sideways for fun, Level 5 is about pointing a car at a distant horizon and firing it there as fast as physically possible. In any weather, on any surface, no excuses. This is a two-horse war that defined an entire generation of car enthusiasts. The Subaru WRX STI versus the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. The Subaru, with its rumbling turbocharged boxer engine, that iconic World Rally blue paint, gold wheels, and a rear wing you could serve dinner on, made around 300 horsepower and fired it to all 4 corners through one of the cleverest all-wheel drive systems ever fitted to a road car. The Evo answered with its own Turbo 4 and an even more sophisticated setup, active yaw control, which could actively shuffle power between the rear wheels to catapult the car through a corner like it was welded to a rail. These two fought on the World Rally stages for years, and every road-going version was basically a homologation excuse to go racing on a Sunday. What made them special was never the straight-line number. It was the all-weather, all-surface confidence. Point, squeeze, and go, while everyone else is spinning their wheels in the rain. Prices for clean Evos, especially the final Evo 9 and the Evo 10, and for the last of the properly quick ST-Is, have climbed hard, because everyone finally clocked that these are modern classics. If you've made it this far, you clearly know your JDM better than most, and you've almost certainly got a favorite already. Do me a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, then drop your level 5 pick down in the comments, Subaru or Mitsubishi. This argument has been raging for 30 years, it's never getting settled, so let's keep it alive down there. The mistake at this level? Buying a Boxer Subaru with a mystery service history and skipping the timing belt and head gasket check. These engines are bomb-proof when maintained and hand grenades when neglected. Get it inspected every single time, level 6, the icons. Now we've finally arrived at the cars that stopped being transport and started being legends, the machines people put on their wall, chase for decades, and remortgage the house to own. The absolute headline is the Toyota Supra, the A80, the Mark IV, and its immortal 2JZ-GTE engine. On paper, it made 320 horsepower. In reality, that cast iron block is so ludicrously over-engineered that tuners routinely pull 4-figure horsepower numbers out of it on the standard internals without blinking. That is exactly why a good Mark IV Supra now sells for genuine supercar money, 6 figures. For a clean manual example, a car that cost less than a family saloon when it rolled off the boat. Right next to it sits the Mazda RX-7 FD. The third generation, widely considered one of the most beautiful cars Japan has ever produced, with a sequential twin-turbo rotary that is as gorgeous to look at as it is terrifying to maintain. Then the Honda NSX, the everyday supercar, the car that Ayrton Senna himself helped sharpen, an aluminium-bodied mid-engined V6 that proved a supercar could be reliable, usable, and comfortable while still embarrassing a Ferrari. And the entire Nissan Z lineage, the 300ZX twin-turbo, the 350Z, the 370Z, and the current Z, which remains the most affordable ticket into genuine icon territory. What unites everything at level 6 is that these cars have completely transcended their spec sheets. Nobody buys a Mark IV Supra in 2026 because it's fast by modern standards, because a hot hatch from level 2 will out-accelerate a stock 1. They buy it because of what it represents, what it can become, and the simple fact that nobody builds cars with this much soul anymore. The mistake here is chasing a cheap, rusty, hacked-about example of any of these dreams. At this level, condition and originality are absolutely everything, and a rough one is just a bottomless money pit wearing a legendary badge. Level 7? Godzilla. There is only one car that earns its own private tier at the very summit of the JDM mountain, and it earned that spot on a racetrack, not in a marketing meeting. The Nissan Skyline GT-R, the R32, the R33, and the absolute crown jewel of the entire culture, the R34. That legendary RB26 DETT engine, a 2.6-liter twin-turbocharged straight-six, was so far ahead of its time it's almost comical. Officially, it made 276 horsepower, purely because of a gentleman's agreement between Japanese manufacturers to cap their quoted figures. In reality, it made a good deal more, and just like the 2JZ, that iron block will happily swallow enormous power the second you turn the boost up. But the real genius was never just the engine. It was the Atessa all-wheel drive system and the Super Hika's four-wheel steering, technology so advanced that the R32 went to Australia and dominated touring car racing so completely and so brutally that the officials literally rewrote the rulebook to ban it, and the locals gave it a nickname that stuck for life: Godzilla. A monster from Japan that destroyed everything in its path. The R34 GT-R in that unmistakable Bayside blue is now one of the most valuable and most desired Japanese cars on the entire planet, with clean examples selling for hundreds of thousands and the very best breaking clean through $500,000 and beyond. Then there's the modern chapter, the R35 GT-R, which dropped the Skyline name but kept the exact same mission. A hand-built twin-turbo V6, launch control savage enough to rearrange your organs, and lap times that flat-out embarrassed Porsches and Ferraris at a fraction of their price. For years, the R35 was the ultimate giant killer, the everyman car that proved you never needed an Italian badge to run with the supercar establishment. This is the summit. Everything else on this entire list, in one way or another, was quietly building towards this. The GT-R isn't just a car to the people who love it, it's the whole point. So where does all of that leave you, and where is the genuinely smart money? Here's the honest truth. No brochure fluff. For pure everyday value and real, repeatable fun, levels 2 and 3 are where the vast majority of people should live. A used Civic Type R or a Mazda MX-5 will give you 90% of the joy for a tiny fraction of the cost, and you can actually drive them hard every single day without having a heart attack when a stone chips the paint. Levels 4 and 5 are where nostalgia crashes head-on into serious money, brilliant cars, every one of them, but buy with your head and a proper pre-purchase inspection, not just your heart, and a bidding war. And levels 6 and 7? Those aren't really purchases anymore. They're investments and lifelong dreams. If you can afford a clean Supra or an R34 without it hurting, you already know exactly why you want it, and no video on earth is talking you out of it. But for everyone else, understand precisely what you're paying for up there. Rarity, history, and a feeling, not raw speed, a modern hot hatch can already match. The best JDM car is always the one you'll actually drive, thrash, maintain, and love. Never the one sitting silently under a cover, appreciating in a locked garage. That, right there, is the whole philosophy of this culture. It was never really about the money. It was about a bunch of Japanese engineers who cared far more than they had to, building cars with more soul than their price tags ever hinted at. From the humble Civic to the mighty Skyline, every level tells that exact same story. If this helped you finally make sense of the latter, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button, because I break down car culture the way it actually works. No fluff, no cap, no nonsense. And tell me down in the comments, what is the one JDM car on this list you'd own tomorrow morning if money was no object? I'll see you in the next one.